Greetings fellow members of the Esoteric Order of Gamers, and welcome to a bit of a Warhammer fest today, Warhammer Age of Sigmar. I've got some lovely stuff from the Games Workshop. Yes, very recently I finally got on the coveted list and they are sending me some freebies. Didn't get a copy of Kill Team though. Anyway, they are sending me some nice stuff, and it's really nice to get stuff to review from Games Workshop after these many years of supporting their products and playing their products. I really appreciate that. And I want to show you some stuff that they've sent me recently. First off, we've got the General's Handbook 2021 for Warhammer Age of Sigmar. Something I thought, wouldn't be that useful, especially for someone like me who doesn't play a huge amount of Age of Sigmar, but it's a surprisingly lovely little book, and I want to show you what you get in that. And then just recently we've had the two new War Tomes. Here they are. These are the brand new ones for the new version of Age of Sigmar, Stormcast Eternals and Auric War Clans, who are the two armies that you get in the new set, the new starter set, which I got myself. I bought it myself before they started sending me freebies. So these three I received for free from Games Workshop so I could show them to you. Let's check them out. Okay, let's start things off by looking at the General's Handbook, and this comes in a shrink wrap package with all this stuff. You get the Pitched Battle Profiles 2021, a sheet of counters to use for battle tactics and things, and this very nice little hardcover book, spiral bound with a piece of elastic to hold it together. A fantastic little thing, especially if you're a mobile gamer and you get out there and you want to carry this around, because it's got your rules and everything in it. So yeah, I really like this. It lies flat, which is great. I don't tend to go travelling very much when I play games of Warhammer, but still, for someone who does, this is perfect. So this is the Pitched Battle Profiles and the battle plans for the Warhammer season, whatever you want to call it, for 2021, which is all in the realm of beasts. So it's all about the realm of beasts. So let's get into it. It's also got these lovely tabs down the side, so it's very easy to get to a section, which is impressive. Now, Games Workshop sent me this, and at first I thought, I don't play Warhammer enough and it won't be very useful. But whether I use it or not a lot, I'm really impressed with this little package, because I just think this is a great little thing. In fact, if I didn't want all the starter set stuff, just getting this alone would be a really handy little thing. So it talks about what match play, pitch battles, which are pretty much the same thing really. Then there's the season realm rules, which is all about the land of beasts. War in Thondia. So this is in Gur, the realm of beasts, and this is all about it. So again, this is for obviously serious Warhammer players who are really into this kind of stuff. As I'll say many times, I only play occasionally, so I don't really need all this detail, but still. So this talks about the battle pack, pitched battle profiles, all the various special rules for playing in the realm of beasts and everything. Realm rules here. The core battalions, grand strategies, battle tactics, all specific special rules for playing in this season of Warhammer. Again, not something I get into, but frequent players will really get into it. There's a scoring sheet for after you do your battles, you can score it. And then we get into some tips for painting, just a little double page there, very quick. And then the battle plans, so this is the next section. So you've got your battle plans for different, basically scenarios really, aren't they, for playing in the realm of beasts and for this this season. So you've got your map and your special rules and all that kind of stuff. So how many battle plans? That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, wow, 11, 12. It's a pretty amazing amount of variety there. So there's so many ways to play Warhammer Age of Sigmar. So much variety you can go into, which I haven't even touched on really. I mean, when I play a game of Warhammer Age of Sigmar, I just tend to put my forces down and go for it. I roughly do the point scoring, so they're pretty much even, but I certainly don't go into all this, and maybe I should. Endless spells. There's an endless spells update, so some changes to the existing endless spells. Basically war scrolls for those, which is good. That's all the spells. And then we get into the core rules. So this is directly from the book.
from the latest version of Age of Sigmar, but just copied in a smaller format, which is fantastic. I really like this little portable thing. Of course, I'll have my own rule summary, which I haven't done yet, but this is a really handy thing to look at and to reference. The only thing I don't like about this layout is that they've used this quite over-the-top typography for pointing out used terms, and I think that just doing these in bold would have been enough, but they put a little grey bar behind them as well, which I just think makes them jump out of the text too much. But that's just from a graphic design point of view. I just find that a bit overdone because it gets in the way of clear reading because they jump out so much. Bold, I think, would have been enough. There's also pull-outs on the side, which I think is good for examples, but it also seems to reference rules as well, so I think you're jumping between the two. So I don't know, for readability, it's certainly a much more complex set of rules than the last version of Age of Sigmar. They've added a lot to it: special rules, command points, heroic actions, all this kind of thing. So I haven't played it yet. I'm looking forward to trying it out, and we'll see what changes it's made. Because the last version was relatively straightforward, maybe they just felt they had to add a bit more complexity and choice in there. So anyway, you've got all your core rules, which is that section, like that. And then at the end, you've got the rules index. So good to have an index so you can reference the rules nice and easily. So what a handy little book. I just think this is a really good little book. And I wouldn't have even known about this if they hadn't sent it to me, because I just thought General's Handbook was a thing that was for really dedicated players and tournament players and everything like that. But I really like the idea that this adds more variety into playing Warhammer, and for that, you know, you can play in the particular realm of beasts and follow the tournament season and all that kind of stuff. All things I don't do, but still, you know, adds a lot of variety. Then you've got this little handbook, which is the pitch battle profiles. Now, this gives you basically the point costs, battlefield role, and a few simple notes about all the forces that currently exist for Age of Sigmar. So again, a very little handy thing. The other thing I was impressed with this is when I went through and checked my own forces, that they put in profiles, well, you know, point scores and everything, for some of the figures that are in the Warhammer Underworld sets. So I could add those to my Stormcast Eternal and Night Gaunt armies. I could get the point scores for those. Of course, you don't have all the detail and war scrolls and everything, but just looking this up is handy. The other thing that you can get all this information from is the Age of Sigmar app, but I'll talk about that in another video. So that's that. Let's get on to the Battletomes. Now, I was very, very happy that Games Workshop sent me these because, well, they're not cheap here. They're $99 each in New Zealand money if you get them direct from Games Workshop. Probably a little bit cheaper if you get them from a third-party supplier. And they're expensive. I bought them both for the last version. I wasn't keen on having to spend all that money to buy them again for this version. So I'm very lucky that I got free copies. But, you know, if you want to go into the heavy detail and the extra special rules for these two armies, you kind of need these books. So it's one of those things. Is it worth it? Well, I don't know. Yes, it is for dedicated Warhammer players, and I'll say this over and over again for all the Warhammer stuff that I look at, because if you're really into this game, you really love all this background information. As you can see, the artwork is just lovely. There's all this background stuff about, you know, the Stormcast Eternals and everything, and I start reading this, but personally my eyes start to glaze over because I'm not really into all the lore. I just play the game occasionally and I enjoy it. I don't really need all this background information, and there's so much detail. It's pretty astonishing how they've built up the Age of Sigmar stuff in, you know, a relatively short period of time. And again, it is all very much turned up to 11. It's that kind of Masters of the Universe kind of full-on thing. I'm happy to see that they have introduced some darkness to the Stormcast Eternals. When they first came out, they were very much bright boys in armour. And now there's some kind of darkness to them. You can see some of these characters are a bit creepy looking in the artwork. So there's a bit of a grey area in there. I mean, this guy just looks like a vampire, basically. So that makes it a bit more interesting. But personally, I don't pay a whole lot of attention to all this background information. I don't really need it. So, but if you're into it, you're going to love it because, as you can see, it's beautifully laid out and just chock full of stuff. And when you read this, all this stuff about the Lord Veritans and the Lord Exorcist and the Lord Ordinators and the Knights Venator, I can't remember who's who. Really, there's just so many of them. It's just all a bit of a blur to me. But for people who play Warhammer all the time and live and breathe Warhammer, they're going to love it. And as you can see, some amazing pictures of the miniatures. We've got the new dragon here. Very impressive figure, the new dragon. Not too crazy about the expression. It's got this kind of cartoony, kind of Planet of the Apes kind of mouth, which just doesn't appeal to me, but there you go. So there's a sample of all the many different types. There are those dragons again. 2 different types of dragons, slightly different poses. They've both got the same kind of mouth though, which is, there you go. I like these knights on dragons. They're a nice little figure. Good to have them flying around. This one's always really impressive, isn't it? Lord Celestant on Stardrake. That's a really chunky figure, that one. But the problem with the Stormcast Eternals to me, and I do have an army of them, is that they all look kind of the same. It's hard to tell them apart. With their huge gold armour and everything, it's a little tricky to tell which one is which. With all my armies, of course, I paint the name in white on the bottom of the base to identify what the figure is, because I can never remember. The thing is, of course, is that unfortunately Games Workshop bases, and I always find this frustrating, on the flip side, they've got all this type on them and there's the spaces where the holes are, and it's really hard to find a spot where you can put a magnet or write anything in. So they're very busy on the underside of the base. That's just the way they're made. Fantastic artwork there, photography. A bit of a painting guide for your Stormcast Eternals, which is handy. I like this stuff about skin patterns and feathers and facial details. That's handy. So this gives you painting schemes for different types. I'm sure if you've seen before on my painting guides and stuff and the battle reports that I've painted my own Stormcast Eternals. I haven't even given them a name or anything. I haven't done any of that stuff. I've just come up with my own scheme. Then we get into the army rules. So you can see pretty much more than half the book is just background material and painting guide and stuff. Get into the rules here. So this is where we get into quite a bit of detail about them. There's all this extra stuff: allegiance, abilities, battle traits, command traits, all the stuff that I've never used in a game because I don't play enough, but the dedicated Warhammer player is going to love. Artifacts of power, spell laws, prayer scriptures. There's just so many special abilities. And I wonder how people remember all these special abilities. There's so many of them. It's just astonishing. The different types of storm hosts have special abilities as well. It's just so many special abilities. And then you've got special abilities just for your units to remember, and all this stuff is on top of it. So it can get pretty complex, a game of Age of Sigmar, surprisingly. Now, Path to Glory is for campaigns. This is a whole system for doing campaigns. Something that I would never have the time to do, but fantastic if you're into that. There's tenants, quests, veteran abilities as you develop your characters to different levels of experience, heroic upgrades, territories you can claim. Wow. And then you've got battle plans for the campaign. So Into the Fire, the Storm That Scores, a couple of special ones there. Battalions, which of course when you put together particular combinations of units, you get these special abilities, more special abilities. You'd be sitting there surrounded by 1,000 post-it notes. Match play, that's when we go onto the special abilities for match play. And then we get into the war scrolls. And wow, so much detail here, so many special abilities. You can see big figures like this have an entire page. Much of that is blank. But look at this. I mean, this guy, that's the dragon. Look at all these special abilities. Heaps of stuff. 3 different melee weapons and a missile weapon. Different damage. Wow, it's full on. Then again, it's a full on figure, so there you go. So you got a couple of dragons, and then we get into the many different types of Stormcast Eternals and all their different war scrolls. So yeah, pretty impressive stuff here. Now, of course, when you get to the app, if you download the app, I'll go into this in more detail, as I said, in a different video, but you have a code when you buy these new tomes. And here I'm just going through War Scrolls. Look how many miniatures the Stormcast Eternal range has. It's astonishing. But actually, between the Soul Wars set and the new set, I actually have quite a lot. I've got about 2,000 points of Stormcast Eternals, and that's without buying extra figures. So they're pretty good value when it comes around to it, those starter sets. You get a lot of miniatures in them. If you're not a constant player like me, you can get enough to have really good games of Age of Sigmar when you bring out the contents of a starter set, or in my case 2 starter sets. So I interrupted myself there, but at the back of the book there's those pitch battle profiles, which were in the General's Handbook as well, but they're just for the Stormcast Eternals. Here's a code. So on the back here you've got this special code specific to this book, and this allows you to unlock all the special rules for the Stormcast Eternals in the app. So you get the basic stuff in the app, enough to sort of go on, but if you want all this special stuff like allegiance abilities and stuff, you have to unlock it with the code, which, you know, is fair enough. I mean, the thing is the app is part of the subscription service, so you're paying for that as well. I wish there was a way that I could just get this half of the book. And I understand, obviously, they're making a beautiful book and they want to make money and all the rest of it, so it's totally understandable. But for the price that this book is, and for if you've got a player like me who doesn't really care about all the background, half of the book at half of the price would be really good, so I could, you know, do the armies and not have to worry about reading all the background material, which a lot of which is repeated every year, because, you know, it's the same old stuff really with a few additions. So that's the frustrating thing. You buy a new book and half of it is repeated in a different form with different photos and different art and everything. It's fair enough, you know, they're making money and they're making nice books and all the rest of it, but it's always geared towards the player who's playing all the time and who's really into it, and I'm just not that kind of player. Anyway, let's have a look at Auric War Clans. Of course, this has the new Cruel Boys in it. You've got 3 different types of war clans in here. This is the Auric Hordes this whole book is about. And this one you've got the Cruel Boys, the Iron Jaws, and the Bone Splitters. And there's a whole lot of detail about those 3 different ones. Now, I'm really glad they brought out these Cruel Boys in the latest set, because I think they're fantastic. They're sneaky, swampy kind of orcs, and I really like the whole feel of them. They look good. I like the style of them. I think it's. I got a bit sick of the whole British lads kind of orc thing, and they're a different style to that. Love these maps too, by the way. Amazingly detailed maps. So again, here's all the background information. Again, I started reading this, and eventually there's only so much you can read about orcs and how obsessed with war they are, and how they fight amongst themselves and blah blah blah. It just feels like it's kind of padded and repeated quite a bit, you know. But, you know, if you're into that stuff, you're going to love it. Again, there's stuff about war clans here and how they organise their armies, but a lot of it is kind of general, not so specific. But anyway, you get into the different types of clans for the different types of factions and all the rest of it. So if you really want to get into that, you are going to love it. So pages and pages of that. Great artwork, as usual. I mean, they're just beautifully designed. All right, and look at this. Now, I'm really going to get one of these huge vulture figures. I don't like this configuration, but the other one is this one. I love this one, this big vulture. There's something about this orc sitting on a vulture that just really appeals to me. I love it. Really impressive figure. And actually, all the Cruel Boys figures are good. Look at this guy, the Swamp Boss Scumdrek. Guy sitting on a giant lizard thing. That's beautiful. The guy sitting on a Troggoth. I love it. I just love how the Cruel Boys sit on these monsters, and, you know, it's brilliant. And then we get into the Iron Jaws. Not so crazy about these. They look like Warhammer 40,000 figures to me. They've got this big yellow armour. It all looks just a bit too advanced for orcs for me. Looks like power armour. And then you get this Savage Orcs, which, you know, are okay, but not really my style. Little painting guide. This is armour variants and skin tones and everything, so that's handy. Again, we get into Army Rules section. Same layout. As you can see, over half the book is background material. And then we start getting into the rules. All these special things, battle traits, command traits, etc. All the stuff that you can unlock with the code, which is at the back of the book in the app if you want to. And there's quite a lot here because, of course, different battle traits for bone splitters and nine jaws and cruel boys. I wonder why they've all got a Z on the end. It's funny, isn't it? It's kind of 90s, isn't it? Anyway, spell laws, clans. Again, here's the Path to Glory section. So if you're doing the campaign, let's get that out of the way. So same stuff, specifically for orcs. A couple of battle plans, your battalions, all the stuff about match play, battalions, core battalions, and then again war scrolls. And this includes this big guy, this guy from the beast. He's sort of a god from the realm of beasts. Which, I don't know, does he go with orcs? It doesn't feel like he goes with orcs for me, really, but I don't know. It's an impressive figure. And look at this. I mean, here's the vulture figure we talked about before. Almost a page full of special abilities. Really complex. So, when I play, it's going to be a bit of preparation, I can tell you. So, we've got all the war scrolls for all of those different orc factions. For those 3 orc factions, heaps of stuff there. There we go. Pitch battle profiles, of course. And then you got the code at the end. So, there you have it.
So there you go, folks. A look at the General's Handbook 2021 and the 2 new war tomes for Age of Sigmar, the new version. If you've got the armies from the Dominion set, like me, you'll be wanting these 2 books because of all that detail in there about your armies. Now I've got 3 armies, having got the last starter set, Soul Wars, and the new one, Dominion. I've now got heaps of Stormcast Eternals, because they both have Stormcast Eternals. I've got a really nice Night Gaunt army that came from Soul Wars, and I've added some extra units too. And I really like the Cruel Boys, as I said, those sort of swampy orcs. So I'm going to be adding some of those big monster figures, because I actually don't have many of those big monster figures in my collection. Now, Age of Sigmar, do I play it a lot? No, I don't. I'm not into Warhammer as my big hobby thing. And that's the thing. I'm giving you my perspective from an occasional player. As you know, I've got heaps and heaps of games, different styles, lots of tabletop miniatures games, lots of board games. I play them all. And to me, Warhammer's another game in my collection. And if I feel like playing Warhammer, I play Warhammer. A lot of people play Warhammer almost exclusively. They're not into board games or other games. And from them, you'll probably get a much more nuanced and detailed review of all the changes to the war scrolls and all the rest of it. My object is to give you a review from a part-time player. So if you play it occasionally, like I do, I'm giving you an overview from that perspective. And from someone who enjoys Games Workshop games in general, but isn't specifically tied to Age of Sigmar or Warhammer 40,000 or any one of their games. I play them all. Thanks very much for watching. The next Games Workshop focused video is going to be about their new Warhammer Plus service, which is their subscription service with animations and information on it. It's kind of interesting, and you might be interested in my perspective on that particular one as well. Until then, again, thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe and hit all notifications if you haven't already. Check out the website. As always, there's heaps and heaps of rules, summaries and reference sheets there for you to enjoy. About 385 of them at last count. I can't believe there are so many. It's unbelievable. Well, the Esoteric Order of Gamers has been going for almost 10 years now. And talking about that, if you want to support my continuing work, check out my Patreon channel. It would be highly appreciated if you could spare me a few bucks every month so I can keep doing this. See you next time, everybody. Good gaming. Bye for now.